Well, what if you lost your job, all the income in the household, and you put all the money in the house, and now you had $0 in your bank, and you didn't have this nest egg? What are you going to do? You're going to foreclose, no matter if you have 99% equity in the house. You will lose the house if you have no income to pay the bills. So welcome to Loans Elevated, the podcast that brings you the latest industry news, expert interviews, and insightful discussions that will help you stay ahead in this dynamic market. I'm your host, Broch Lassig, and I've spent years in the trenches of the mortgage industry, helping individuals and businesses navigate the complex landscape of real estate financing.
I'm your co-host, TJ Heidenreich, and together we'll cover a wide range of topics, from business strategies that skyrocket your success to mindset and motivation that fuel your growth.
Hey, welcome back to Loans Elevated. Today, TJ and I are talking about probably our favorite topic and really the root of the Lassig team at Cross Country Mortgage in general. So our passion and the way we describe our passion is we are holistic mortgage planners, not drive-through mortgage. And what that means is drive-through mortgage, most of the time you call a mortgage company or a loan officer like in our position, and you say, hey, I have this much down, I want this monthly payment, what can I buy? And they take a few data points and they calculate it and they give you an answer and you go out and shop for a home and you buy a home and you move on. We take it a much deeper level because it's really what makes the business and our jobs fun for us.
Yeah, helping people get out of the rat race.
Yeah.
Really, when it comes down to
100%. And this is something we obsess about. Like him and I are very, very similar. Date nights are comprised of calculations and running stuff, driving our wives crazy. And that's what this episode is all about. So how to retire early, and in specific, how that is even relatable whatsoever to mortgages and real estate financing. So we're going to dive in, go over some details, ideas, things that we coach our clients on that make a massive, profound, literally multi-million-dollar difference in their financial picture over time. So, Tej, why don't we talk about just this is something I think people would relate to, but the fundamental idea of staying more liquid versus what most people think to put tons of money down on a mortgage.
For sure. So, starting off, when I'm talking with a move-up buyer, someone that has a good amount of equity in their home that looking to sell and utilize towards their next transaction.
And in this economy or in this market with the younger buyers, they have tons of money. They got money in retirement. Yep. They have gift funds. They have all this stuff. Yep. So it doesn't have to be a move-up buyer.
Yeah, exactly. Oftentimes dual income. Oftentimes a lot of buyers we're seeing, they've got money to put down.
Yeah.
And they want to put the most down as possible when we were first talking with them. Like, oh, I've got 20% to put down or I've got 25% to put down. What can I do? How do I utilize that to get the lowest monthly payment possible? And the way that my conversations go is, this sounds counterintuitive, but maybe let's keep you a little bit more liquid to accomplish the monthly payment you want to have, but also set you up for a greater financial future and get you out of that rat race long term.
So the way we boil that down in our conversations with our clients with the holistic mortgage planning process is we first help them optimize their leverage. Yep. The next step is mitigate risk. And the final step is what this is all about, which is maximizing wealth through the power of homeownership. So TJ right now is talking about optimizing the leverage. Yep. Now, you recognize we didn't say minimize or maximize the leverage. We said optimize the leverage because every situation's a little bit different. Everything's unique. But the common thread for a lot of people, especially as rates have been high over the past couple of years and affordability in houses has been much more difficult, has been, I need to come up with more money down. I need to come up with more money down because I need a lower payment. Right. And what people are missing, which this is a strategy that kind of brings this to heart, is we call it BYOB. Now, it has nothing to do with beer. This is become your own bank. And what this is explain how we execute on this for clients. Like, go back to your move-up buyer example. Even though this applies to anybody with a significant, which is a subjective term, but with a sum of money, anybody with a sum of money looking to buy a home, we coach them on becoming their own bank to accomplish what I say is have their cake and eat it too. So go over an example.
So let's say that our client is looking to purchase a $700,000 house and they net about $200,000 from the sale of their vacating residence. And we'll just talk about principal and interest. We won't talk about taxes and insurances included.
And the reason that he's making that clarification is no matter how much you put down on a mortgage, taxes and insurance are going to be the same. The only thing that changes is the principal and interest payment.
Yep. So $200,000, that will put your mortgage payment, assuming a 7% interest rate, at $3,326 per month. Okay. So,
and sorry, let me clarify. 700,000 mortgage or purchase price?
$700 purchase price. So
Okay,
$500,000 mortgage.
Okay.
Yep. And then that's with 28% down. So let's say that we want to keep them more liquid and they're a well-qualified borrower. We could have them put down 15%, still avoid mortgage insurance as well. And that brings their payment to $3,958.
So 3326, I think 3326, 3958. So
Yep.
the payment went up $632 a month.
Yep, correct.
But they saved how much in their pocket?
$95,000.
95 grand.
Yep.
More cash in their pocket.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So with
All right.
BYOB,
For a 632 per month cost.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So BYOB is what we would do is factor in the subsidy.
Yep.
So take the 95,000,
Yep.
divide that by the difference in payment, which was what again?
So 95K divided by 632
Yep, correct.
gives them 150 months of payment subsidy.
150 months. How many years is that?
So
Divided by
that's,
12.
well, it's more than 15. It's almost 15. 12 and a half years.
So 12 and a half
yeah.
years of subsidy at this point. I don't think you're going to have this mortgage for that long. There's going to be opportunity for you to refinance and or even possibly sell the house by then.
The national average over like 60 some odd years is that every U.S. homeowner sells their home and buys a new one every 5 to 7 years.
Yep.
So like this is 12 and a half years
Yep.
that by putting less money down, you have 95 grand in the bank. You can have the payment, assuming no refi, assuming nothing that is not guaranteed. You know for sure you have 95 grand in the bank. You could subsidize your payment and make the same payment as if you put all that money down for 12 and a half years. But the benefit is, which goes into mitigating risk,
That's exactly where I was going. Risk
you have
mitigation.
cash on the sidelines.
Exactly. If something breaks in the house that you weren't planning for, or you need an unexpected expense pops up, you can borrow from that fund and not feel the effects.
And borrow from the fund is like, because sometimes clients get confused with us
Yeah.
the way we explain this. We have no control of this money.
Yeah.
When we say borrow from the fund, you have the money sitting in your money market or savings account at your bank. You just get to spend the money any way you want. But it is a nest egg and a financial backstop that puts some protection and peace of mind upon you and your family and your
Right.
household. And your monthly payment out of pocket, out of your paychecks, is not any more. It's
Right.
insane. Yeah.
Some clients are go, okay, well, I already have that rainy day fund set up. What do I do with the funds? And let me also preface, we're no financial advisors. We're just complete nerds. But let's say we're following the S&P 500s. And since inception in 1952, the S&P 500 averages a rate of return of like 11.8%, almost
like that,
12%. So if you stay really conservative and went with an 8% return on $95,000,
which is very conservative, just so you guys know.
Yeah.
I have almost all my money personally invested into the S&P 500 or something very similar to that. And over the past 5 years, which have been volatile years. I mean, we've had minus 20%
swings.
years.
Yeah.
My average has been 11%. My personal average, that's like 8% is ridiculously conservative.
Well, I'm a firm believer of learn from people that are way smarter than you. And
100%.
Warren Buffett, he says that when he passes, all of his assets have to go to the S&P 500, and his family can live off the interest, and that's it.
His generations, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, will live on the interest, and it's such a secure investment in his mind. They don't have to worry about it because he's clearly a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
So anyway, tangent, but let's dive into that. So you
the
run into compounding-
$95,000
Yeah.
times that, or with the compound interest of 8%.
8% interest for 30 years?
Yeah, by the time the house is paid off. So 30 years down the road, you own the house free and clear after your 30-year mortgage. What's left in the bank?
So that 95 grand, instead of putting it down on the house at a cost of $632 per month, has resulted in $1,038,894 in the bank, assuming an 8% return. Here's the crazy thing. Say that goes to 10%, which is, I've never gotten a return of less than 10%
for
ever.
sure.
And I've been investing money for, I don't know, I guess 18 years now.
Yeah.
I've been investing money. If it was a 10% return over that same 30-year period, now clearly time and the compounding interest effects weigh into this, but that turns into almost 9 million.
That's crazy.
It's almost you almost double your money if you hit 10% average.
Well, that
which
doesn't
is-
even factor in the home appreciation of the home. Whether you
Right.
own, whether you put down the 15% or the 28%, the home still appreciates at this same rate. So your
That's the
ROI is
big
greater.
trick. Yeah, that's one thing that I explain to clients in a big way is I'm like, listen, if we just extrapolate all of the emotional concerns of like the monthly payment, the cash, like extrapolate that completely and be
Living situation, all the emotional stuff, you take that away. Let's just
forget
purely
about
look at it.
Yeah.
Investment.
Exactly. Look at it as an investment. Well, if you can put 5% down on an investment that is, let's just say 5% down is 35 grand on a 700K house, 35 grand. And that home appreciates at $35,000 per year. your return on investment is 100% cash on cash return on investment. If you put down the 200,000, the home's still only going to appreciate at the 35,000. So
you're just hurting your ROI at that point.
Yeah. So now you're only making 17.5, which is really good. 17.5% return on investment. But
I'll take 100% every time.
Yeah. Why in the world wouldn't you? And you have more cash liquidity for the unforeseen expenses. Because when I talk to the clients, they often tell me, I'm like, well, why do you want a lower payment? I'm looking at your loan. You can easily because here's the trick. We can't give you a higher loan. In other words, we can't tell you to put less money down if you don't actually qualify by putting less money down. These are the clients that do qualify for the higher payment, put less money down. And so I ask them, if I know you can qualify, I'm looking at the numbers, you can qualify. Clearly, financially, it's a viable thing to do. Why do you want a lower payment? Well, what if I don't receive my bonus, or I don't like to rely on my commission, or risk. What if my spouse quits their job, or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Well, what if you lost your job, all the income in the household, and you put all the money in the house, and now you had $0 in your bank, and you didn't have this nest egg? What are you going to do? You're going to foreclose, no matter if you have 99% equity in the house. You will lose the house if you have no income to pay the bills. So like having cash on the sidelines, that's the risk mitigation piece. You never know what's going to happen in the future. And not only does it mitigate the risk, but it maximizes your wealth creation. That's what we're talking about. So the real world example of this, here's how I would actually do it. Talk about that example that you just gave, but I would go more extreme. I'd say instead of 200 grand down, we're going to put 5% down. Okay. So now you have $165,000 sitting on the sidelines that you don't put down. And I run this, I tell my clients a 10% return. Because I've been doing this, I've averaged a 10% return over 18 years of investing, and even the most recent 5 years. So on any metric I look at, I'm making 10%, and I'm not in crazy stuff.
Right, for sure.
And say you put that in there for 30 years. Well, 30 years down the road, if you put the 165, so your payment, granted, is more expensive, but you've got a nest egg, you can subsidize, you can refi to bring that down, so on and so forth. That turns into $3.27 million in 30 years.
Plus a home free and clear that's worth multiple millions as well.
Well, if you buy a $700K house, let's just figure it out.
Yeah.
You buy a $700K house, and this is, assume you just stay there. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. But let's say it appreciates at 5%. Yeah, that's worth $3.1 million.
Yeah.
So you have almost a $7 million. Yeah, $6.5 million net worth.
Yeah.
With this one decision.
And whereas consider any 401k or anything else that you might have that's.
Well, and let's give a compare and contrast. If you put all that money down on the house, what is your net worth?
The
3.1 million. It's literally half.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. And here's the next thing. So TJ and I always talk about the rule of 5%.
Yep.
And we coach our clients. Yeah. So basically what this means is whatever cash investments you have upon retirement, you can expect to draw 5% of that value in distributions, monthly or annually, however it works, 5% of that on an annual basis after taxes. So in other words, that's your net paycheck after taxes are already taken out, everything. That's the actual take-home pay at retirement is 5% of the cash value of the investments you have. So in this scenario...
And just to reiterate, you're never touching the principal. That's just the interest.
Just the interest.
It will stay the same. In fact, even go up sometimes.
If you have a better year, because this is a conservative number. So now we're talking about generational wealth. But check this out. So we'll just call it $3.25 million. I'm rounding down a little bit. $3.25 million times 5%. That means that when you retire 30 years down the road, by making this decision, you have a free and clear house still. You are netting $13,500 per month after taxes in your bank at retirement, and the $3.25 million is not being depleted by a single penny. In theory, of course, this is all linear equations. Lots of things can happen. We're not financial advisors. Talk to one, but these are just concepts, theories, ideas that we try to plant the seed in and then refer out professionals. So if you need referrals, let us know.
Of income, $13,500 income per month. You don't have to rely on Social Security. You don't have to rely on all the stuff that's set up right now. Like, it's risk-free at that point.
100%. So you could shorten this timeline and change these numbers. And this is what we're experts at. That is holistic mortgage planning, in essence, is us coaching, understanding what your goals are, what your objectives are, when do you want to retire, what is the cash situation, what does this look like? And we just kind of sit there as the neutral, objective, financially nerdy third party to help you see the possibilities of what you can accomplish. And it is insanely powerful. So retiring early with the power of homeownership, if you do it right, is something like the next best thing is winning the lottery, which is like you have better chances of getting struck by lightning twice, I think, than twice in a lifetime. You have better chances than winning the lottery. So it's like, this is a certainty.
Well, and this is just one strategy. On our next episode, we'll talk about, because some people don't want to wait for the stock market. They don't love the idea of the stock market. You can also do this through real estate as well. So next episode, we'll talk about staying liquid and purchasing investment properties and what that can do for you.
And the crazy thing is that one, we do run that. The stock market's a little easier and makes people, sometimes we feel like if we sell real estate too hard, everyone's like, well, you just want me to do more loans with you. So we talk about putting the money somewhere else. But that's the one that if you do it right, you can literally cut that time period of retirement in half or in a third and maybe even make more money in that same time frame. So I think that's a good point. One last little teaser, and maybe what we'll do is we'll talk about this next time. So let's talk about these 2 points on the next money episode that we do. But we'll talk about reinvesting into investment properties and leveraging differently, like you just said. But number 2 is selling your primary home instead of renting out your primary home, which is, these are 2 conflicting kind of oxymoronic ideas, but there is a unique little strategy for certain people that it might make better sense for you to cash out and sell your primary residence as opposed to renting that one out, even if your intent is long-term is to acquire a portfolio of real estate. This may fast track you to that plan. So we'll talk about those 2 things next time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Please hit us up if you have questions. This
is our favorite part about the job.
I love it. I could talk about this for 100 hours and not sleep. It's amazing. We would love to help you run the numbers for you and your family, your clients, whoever it is. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for tuning in. For more industry insights, follow us on all platforms at Loans Elevated.
And to get in touch with our team, call or text 801-713-4000 or visit loanselevated.com.